Students, we're now entering in our 14th week of class. Can you believe it's gone this fast? Can we do a happy dance? My granddaughters always laugh at me when I dance and they try to imitate me. I'm original. Let me just say that. If nothing else, I'm original when I dance. But it's a time to be happy. You know, we're coming to the end. All the real hard work is done. You do have a few things to go, but you can do this. So I want to encourage you to keep going, finish well. This week, several things. Number one, we're gonna you've got to sum up the book head, heart, and hands. So read the book, then write the review. Now I really like this book. I never really had the respect for it until I really thought about it and the significance of it. But it really does a good job of showing kind of simply three different ways that people approach their Christianity and how they use their Christianity. The head, those are the people who they're the thinkers about Christianity. They're the teachers about Christianity. They're the ones who really study it, and it's important the accuracy of that. The theologians among us. My son-in-law, one of my son-in-laws has a master's degree from Biola in apologetics, and he really wrestles with Scripture and wrestles with the arguments for Christianity. So he really approaches his Christianity from the mental, cognitive aspects of his life. And then there's the hands. One of my daughters has her degree in anthropology, and she spent time with the Peace Corps. And social justice is really important to her. To this day, she works for the homes for homeless, and she works with homeless women and those kinds of things. So social justice is really important for her. So she's the hands. She really wants to demonstrate her Christianity. And then my wife, she calls herself a mystic. She's charismatic and loves Jesus with her heart, and her goal is even in teaching a class, if students cry, she's done her job. So it's in touch with the emotional, the heart part of us. So it helps me to be able to see people, but also denominations. Some denominations emphasize the head. Some denominations emphasize the hands. Some denominations emphasize the hearts. So it really helps me in understanding different expressions of Christianity. Now remember, when you write your review of it, there are three sections you have to write. Number one, you have to write up what's the content of the book, so kind of summarize the content. And this all thing has to be in 2 pages. Then two, the second part of it is you have to write a critique of it. What are its strengths and what are its weaknesses? Now, part of the academic process is learning to ask the right questions. So this part of the review, you talk to me, and it's real important for me that you think critically. Okay, this could be improved by this, or these are some of the challenges I have with the author, or if I was to do the book, I would do it this way, or it could have a broader audience this way. So it's real important you show the strengths and weaknesses in that second part of the book review. And then thirdly, how do you apply it to your life? So what's the applications for that? And so those are all real important to getting full points in that review sections. Now, then lastly, in 2 weeks, you've got your final due. And you can already do two things. You can do your spiritual inventory. And there's a few things you have to write up about that, and even on the test. So be prepared to do that, and you can do that this week. And the second thing you can look at the questions on the final and pre-answer those written somewhere. So when you take the final, you know where those answers are. All the answers are in the PowerPoints or they're in the books. And you just need to source those and write the answer. So you can do that ahead of time, and I want to encourage you to. So when you have 2 hours to take the test, you can get it done in a timely manner. So those are the activities this week. Now, the other thing I want to talk about as we close, is it Mark 12:30? Jesus says we're to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our mind, and with all of our strength. With our heart, with our soul, with our mind, and our strength. Now, ultimately, what Jesus is saying is we need to love God with all of us. He's just including every part of our anatomy there, right? Our heart, our soul, our mind. Every bit of us is to be loving God. But if you think about that, though, they all have specific dimensions. Number one, with all of our heart. That's the seat of our desires. That we should desire God more than anything with our love. At the very focus of everything we want, it has to be first and foremost on God. Number two, we need to love God with our mind. And for somebody who's studying in college as an academic, that's important to me because it means we have a mind that's filled with God, the thoughts of God, the ways of God, the knowledge of God. We study Scripture. It's also our mind is focused on God. It's Godward. And then lastly, it's used of God. We present our mind as a vehicle for God to use in all that He does. Well, and once we do all these things, we're totally committed to God. So I want to encourage you this week as you press in, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul.